Elon Musk recently twixted, AI and robots will replace all jobs. Working will be optional, like growing your own vegetables instead of buying them from the store. This was in response to a recent New York Times article stating that Amazon would be replacing 600,000 employees in the coming years with robots. If you've been paying any attention, this shouldn't be news to you. Tech leaders have long been saying that we'll get to a point in the near future where AI and robots can outperform humans at any task, and we will therefore drive unemployment to nearly 100%. Don't believe me? Here's Bill Gates letting us know that our entire species won't be necessary.
I mean, will we still need humans?
Not for most things. We'll decide.
And here's Musk repeating the same sentiment at a recent event.
Maybe it's 10, 20 years, something like that. For me, that's long term. My prediction is that work will be optional. Optional.
This is starting to play out in the economy. In the last few weeks, we've seen several multinational companies announce major job cuts, including 2,000 employees at Paramount, 14,000 at Amazon, 48,000 at UPS, 1,800 at Target, 16,000 at Nestle, 4,000 at Lufthansa, 9,000 at Novo Nordisk, 15,000 at Microsoft, and 7,000 employees at Procter & Gamble. The chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, also recently stated, job creation is pretty close to zero. He cited AI as one of the causes for this stagnation. Mass joblessness seems like a recipe for disaster, doesn't it? Not if you ask our tech leaders. They somehow feel optimistic about a future without jobs. Here's what Sam Altman says about the future of AI.
Look, I hate to sound like utopic tech bro here, but if you'll excuse me for 3 seconds, like the level of the increase in quality of life that AI can deliver is extraordinary. We can make the world amazing, and we can make people's lives amazing. We can cure diseases. We can increase material wealth. We can help people be happier, more fulfilled, all of these sorts of things.
Elon Musk feels the same way.
I think probably people will be happy with if as long as we achieve it, which is sustainable abundance, which is if everyone can have if you ask people what's the future that you want, right. I think a future where we haven't destroyed nature, we have the national parks, we have the Amazon rainforest still there. We haven't paved the rainforest. The natural beauty is still there, but people have, nonetheless, everyone has abundance. Everyone has excellent medical care. Everyone has whatever goods and services they want.
And we essentially
it kind of sounds like heaven.
Finally, if you watch my Peter Thiel video, you'll remember that he once wrote that technological advancement is a means for God to work through us to build the kingdom of heaven today here on earth. So what does all this mean? How are all these guys so optimistic about a future of mass unemployment? Well, if we no longer have to pay humans to produce goods and services, the cost of said goods and services will be close to $0, and therefore, even the unemployed will have access to virtually everything they want. All it will take is some kind of centralized, AI-enabled government to redistribute the wealth so that we can all receive our, quoting Musk, universal high income. According to this logic, if everything goes to plan, then in a few years we'll live in a socialist utopia where everything you could ever want and need will be at your fingertips and you won't have to do absolutely anything to earn it. Sounds great, doesn't it? Who wouldn't want this world? Well, I for one don't, and I'll explain why. The Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis was a literal heaven on earth. Adam lived in perfect communion with God in a world free of suffering, sin, and disease. You know what else Adam had while living in paradise? Adam had a job. That's right. In Genesis 2:15 it states, "The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it." The very first man on earth, living in paradise, had to shoulder the burden of work. God could have put the cherubs or the angels or the squirrels or anything else to work for Adam, but he didn't. He gave Adam a job to do. Whether you believe that the Bible is the divine word of the Lord, as I do, or the collective knowledge of ancient civilization, when Genesis was written over 3,000 years ago, we already knew something that we are apparently forgetting. We need to feel that we are being useful. We need challenges to overcome. We need hardship. We need a mission. We need a meaning and a purpose. This doesn't necessarily need to come from work. However, for most men, it does. Have you ever had a particularly challenging day or week or even month at work? The added stress, lack of sleep, and uncertainty feels awful when you're going through it. But at the same time, you also feel a sense of pride and contentment that is counterintuitive to the stress and suffering. That sense of satisfaction is multiplied if your labor is putting food on the table for your children or for others. In Ecclesiastes 3:13, it states that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. Let me repeat that. Finding satisfaction in your work, even when it may often suck, is a gift from God. We are programmed to take pride in our work. Or, as Leo Tolstoy put it, work and not idleness is the indispensable condition of happiness. Think about it. Without finding satisfaction in our work, we'd probably still be stuck in the Stone Ages. Finding satisfaction in work is a God-given feature that has led to human advancement and thriving. Don't believe me? A German study found that people who didn't work, not surprisingly, experienced more pleasurable moments than those that did work. However, while they seemed to be enjoying their time more, they reported lower life satisfaction and sense of meaning. So pleasure does not equate to life satisfaction, but working so that you can provide does. Further, a 2016 Harvard study found that retirement without social or purposeful replacement can raise risk of depression, cognitive decline, and premature death. Finally, a 2017 meta-analysis found that early or involuntary retirement is associated with higher mortality. Stated more plainly, being forced out of work increases the chances that you die. In Musk and Altman's jobless techno-utopia, they imagine that even in a time of abundance, we'll feel this primal need to be productive with other pursuits. Maybe in the absence of work, you'll train for a triathlon, or finally write that novel you've always wanted to. Maybe you'll learn a new instrument or language. Maybe you'll scale a mountain. But let's be real. In the absence of need, most people will fill their time with empty distractions. We already spend over 5 hours a day on our cell phones chasing fleeting dopamine hits from our social media. Do you think that will increase or decrease as we have more time on our hands? Our technology becomes more addictive, and we eventually implant that technology in our head. Do you think the average 25-year-old unemployed male living off of government handouts will spend his time studying the classics, running trails, and volunteering at their local church? Or will they spend their time watching virtual reality porn and playing video games? For most young men, I fear it will be the latter. Don't believe me? Just look at the obesity epidemic as an example of the cost of abundance. In all but the poorest regions of the world, we now live in a post-scarcity world for food. Everyone knows that a diet of meat, vegetables, and fruit is better than a diet centered on highly processed foods and low-quality carbs like donuts and pizza. However, the low-quality carbs also happen to be more pleasurable and more addictive. So what do people choose? Unfortunately, most people sacrifice their long-term health and well-being for short-term pleasure, and the majority of American adults are overweight or obese. Do you think we'll behave any differently with our time when we live in a post-scarcity world and no longer have to trade our time for money? Will we fill that time with healthy habits like reading, exercising, and community service? Or will we fill that time with short-term pleasure in the form of porn, video games, and social media? For most, it will likely be the latter. Since when has getting everything we wanted ever been good for us? Why do we have an aversion to trust fund kids and nepo babies? Why do we say no to our own kids? Don't we love them and want the best for them? It's exactly because we love them and want the best for them that we don't give in to their every desire. Scarcity and exchanging our labor to meet our needs are features of humanity, not bugs that need to be fixed. The moment we hand over all struggle to the machine, we surrender a large part of what makes us human. This loss of sense of self will lead to increased depression and hopelessness. I hate to say this, but I believe that the path that we're on is bleak. The coming jobs crisis will lead to great suffering and likely society-wide upheaval. But we're far from the first Christians facing adversity and a bleak future. Now is the time to double down on your faith, your family, and your community, as that is what will provide you with the strength and give you meaning as we head towards the tribulation. As Jesus said when talking about end times in Matthew 24, but the one who remains faithful to the end will be saved. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this.